The Burke Curry Seary branch lost several leaders in the approximate period between 2010 and 2017. The branch was fading, although Irish traditional music was still alive. The premature loss of P.V. O'Donnell in 2011 hit the branch very hard. P.V. was a very active session leader, performer, and teacher who had taught many Irish fiddle players in Connecticut. In 2013, Jeannie Freeman, a student of P.V.'s, started the Connecticut Academy of Irish Music. The Academy drew interest of adults and whole families and soon developed a community of students. In addition to organizing the Academy and teaching fiddle, Jeannie helped the branch stay alive and recruited several students to assist with the administration of the branch. At this stage, although regular Irish traditional sessions continued, the branch presence had diminished. Was it relevant to continue to have a cultus branch in northern Connecticut in 2020? And what value did cultus serve? It was no longer a lifeblood to Irish diaspora who wanted to have a social network of fellow Irish immigrants. Regular music sessions were occurring independent of the branch. Was it worth the effort to continue to have a branch? A survey was sent to local area Irish musicians, as well as those on the email lists for the Connecticut Academy of Irish Music and the Glastonbury Irish Home Session. Two basic questions were asked. Do you think it's relevant to continue to have a cultus branch? If so, what should the branch do? The answers were a little surprising. Approximately 70% of the respondents felt it was important to continue to have the branch, and said that they saw cultus as their link to Irish events, concerts, classes, house concerts, and language workshops. Some, including 2 new officers of the branch, valued the cultus competition network and were regular participants in Northeastern planning. Based on these responses, we decided to redouble our efforts and focus on what the members felt was valuable. A cultus session was restarted in a central location, an independent pizza restaurant in East Hartford. Monthly sessions began with a guest leader, and attendance was high before the COVID-19 pandemic. Our new Facebook page has been a valuable tool with postings about Irish sessions, classes, and concerts, and helped to fill the void supplying local people with information on local opportunities to hear participate in Irish traditional music. Organization has remained loose, but it fosters a small but dedicated community of people who are passionate about Irish traditional music.
I'm Emily Carroll, I'm 15.
I'm Nora Carroll, and I'm 13.
And we're part of the Burke Curry Seary cultus branch.
What initially attracted both of you to Irish music?
Well, our dad's side of the family is from Ireland, and so they actually lent us violin, which I started on. And as children, we always listened to Irish music, and we always loved how joyous it seemed, and we really wanted to be a part of that tradition. So when we were 5 and 4 years old, we started to learn violin.
How have you benefited from your association with the Burke Curry Seary branch of cultus?
Well, we've benefited a lot from learning about our past of different musicians and how their different styles have impacted our playing styles ourselves. And we've also learned a bunch about other people in our same region, and we've connected a lot with people by doing sessions and other meetings with people like that.
How have you benefited from your efforts at the Mid-Atlantic Fleadh and at the Fleadh Cheoil in Ireland?
Well, through actually preparing for the Fleadh, we really got to hone in on our skills and become better musicians that way. And when we arrived at the Fleadh, we found that we were able to meet a lot of other child musicians and youth musicians who we've actually stayed in contact with and have made a lot of friendships. And we also kind of learned that we were a part of a bigger whole of the Irish tradition, which really motivated us to continue. And when we went to Ireland for the first time for the Fleadh Cheoil in Drogheda in 2018, we met up with a lot of other youth musicians and really saw the impact of the tradition on Ireland. And it was really inspiring to see kids and adults come from all over the world to be part of the tradition.
I would say that it's mostly about getting to learn about a bunch of other musicians who are basically legends, like Dylan Foley and John Whalen and Haley Richardson and so many other people that we've met while we're there and got to play in sessions with and made personal relationship relationships with, and so it's really fun to get to have personal relationships with a bunch of other musicians our age and not just kind of be the standouts.
The branch's history of enthusiastic musicians is evidenced in its 12 Hall of Fame inductees. Today, the branch continues the tradition of sessions. The Burke Curry Siri branch is proud of its history and excited about its future. Much of what we do in the present has been shaped by events in the past, and so it was at the Hanifin Cooley branch. The Canadian American Club remains our home to this day. It's like a co-op whose residents are Scottish, Irish, and Canadian, with a spring of the floor responding to all. The music lessons that started with Seamus Connolly at the Reynolds home moved to the Can-Am for a time before becoming formalized. Executive directors of the school can talk about their role and responsibilities. Frank Kennedy, first executive director of the music school.
So we got together. Seamus was at Boston College, and we were able to get the agreement with BC to have the lessons at Gasson 101, which is the main building there, and use the classrooms throughout Gasson Hall. So we started the music school in 1997. We had about 100 students right off the bat. But overall, we were very pleased with what the results were. We kept expanding the school.
I got a call one day from Larry saying, "Jim, would you ever take over the music school?" This took me by surprise, but the usual answer was, "Of course, Larry." There were some teachers left over from the previous year, but I had to find some more. Before the fall semester started, I had all the teachers to dinner meeting at my house so they could all get to know each other. I didn't have a secretary to dedicate phone calling chores to, in addition to my running my own company at the time. Classrooms were an additional problem. We were bouncing around between Harvard University, Boston College, and St. Joseph's in Brighton, but it all worked out. The music school produced many good musicians. Some completed and win trophies in New York Fleadh and in Ireland as well. The school also produced 2 junior Ceilidh bands, and we competed in New York as well. We had some great teachers. They gave their best. I'm still very proud of the accomplishments of the music school.
Larry came to me and said, you know, you're doing a great job teaching. And I knew there was something coming from that. And he said, you know, I'd like you, because I had experience in Ireland with teaching in a school situation. And he said, I'd like you to consider taking over the school. Won't you do that? And and that was his way of saying, of course you will. And understandably, as we've all had that tap, said, yeah, sure, why not? And it was an easy thing because it was well set up and organized. You know, we had the likes of Nancy Adams, who was doing the administrative work, and that was a huge relief. And there was a great bunch of teachers there who knew what they were doing, and they were all dedicated. And really the only thing we had to manage was just working the different semesters between BC and Harvard.
You and Tim had already set it all up, so I agreed anyway, and just fit into the role of director. But it was all running, so I really didn't, thank God, I didn't have to make any big decisions.
A challenge in the organization is, you know, where are we going to hold these lessons? How do we keep it, you know, where we don't have any brick and mortar building of our own? We're still working with different scholastic organizations and trying to fit into, you know, college school plans or high school plans. So you actually, you know, we're part of moving the school to new locations a couple of times, you know, between St. Joe's and St. Columkills. You've been, you know, even as there was another Lisa Coyne took over in the executive role as well. You've been a massive contributor in coaching her as she was taking through there. You and her were fundamental in bringing the school and organizing a shared experience where we had students from our school mixed with students from Tulla.
Yeah, there have been some great years.
A teacher from Ireland was invited to Boston. The set dancing classes that began at the Can-Am in 1986 started an explosion that reverberates to this day. A set dancer can find a location in the greater Boston area to dance most nights of the week, with more than one option on some nights. Boston has hosted the North American Provincial Comhaltas Convention in 1988, 1997, and 2003. The death of Larry Reynolds on October 3rd, 2012, created an immediate worldwide pause. To remember, to mourn, and to celebrate his life and his legacy. On Sunday, December 2nd, 2012, with family, members, and friends, the Hannafin Cooley branch of Boston was rededicated as the Reynolds Hannafin Cooley branch in honor of Larry. He had served as the branch chairperson for 35 years. All of the elements of traditional Irish culture were stronger because of Larry, in part because of the music, but also as his role as a promoter. Some called him an Irish ambassador. He had the ability to engage members as officers and volunteers in his quest to bring Irish culture to the largest audience possible. He left a strong leadership team headed by new chairperson Tara Lynch. A musician and teacher, Tara has continued to promote the spirit of Comhaltas. One addition she made immediately was to add a slow session before the regular monthly session for students of all ages. Always the teacher. "1996 saw the passing of chairperson and founder Frank Dugan. And in 1998, the branch was renamed Crave Dugan. The new millennium brought changes and growth to our little branch. The branch continues to bring our music to the communities of Oneida and Herkimer counties at nursing homes, libraries, and small local festivals. We introduced our community to some legends like Seamus Connolly, Mike McHale, Sean Tierney, and Brendan Brown. They were invited to lead workshops on musical instruments, Irish language, and dance. And our music sessions went public, first at Domenico's Coffee House and later at Nail Creek, both in Utica. That change brought in several new members, both musicians and dancers. Our session has since moved to the 5 Points Pub and the newly built Irish Cultural Center of the Mohawk Valley. Craig Dugan has a significant presence at the Irish Cultural Centre. This building was the result of over 15 years of planning by many Irish organizations in the Mohawk Valley, with funds being raised for its construction by the Great American Irish Festival. Craig Dugan is the one group that has played at every Great American Irish Festival since its inception. The building is unique in that it houses a for-profit business, the Five Points Public House and Event Center on the ground floor, and the museum and classroom space on the second floor as a cultural center. It was completed in the late summer of 2019, months before the COVID-19 pandemic shuttered it several times. Members of Craig Dugan serve on its program committee, which offered in-person events prior to the pandemic shutdown, as well as online events during the shutdown. Along with the Great American Irish Festival, there was a resurgence in the interest of the Utica St. Patrick's Day Parade. Again, Craig Dugan stepped up and joined the parade and was instrumental in organizing a food drive before and during the parade to support Mother Mary Ann's Food Kitchen at St. Joseph's St. Patrick's Church. In 2017, the musicians of Craig Dugan wrote and presented a program called The Irish and the Erie to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the start of the Erie Canal, which began in Rome and contributed greatly to the growth of our nation. There were more endings with the deaths of Pat Dugan, Jim O'Looney, and his wife Diana. Pat was still teaching Irish language up to 2 weeks prior to her death, and longtime members of Craig Dugan were able to play a few tunes with Jim as he played his accordion just a few days prior to his passing. At our 2020 general meeting, we honored the O'Looneys for their contributions to Irish culture by changing our name to Craig Dugan O'Looney. Geographically, Albany is a central location within the large Northeast region, and so it became a popular place to hold regional events. The Northeast Hall of Fame was one such event. For almost 20 years, they welcomed the finest to their hall for dinner and an induction ceremony, with some of their own branch members being recognized. The crack was mighty. Some now deceased inductees are Mike Flanagan, Mike Leonard, Ralph Kelly, John Joe Callanan, Mary Jo O'Donnell, Joe Burke, Chris Naughton, and Ethel Brody. A number of the inductees, of course, are still playing. Jim Mara, Jimmy Mangan, Hattie Keogh, Monsignor Charles Cohen, Mike McHale, Noel Higgins, Jimmy Kelly Sr., and George Ward. The Albany Comhaltas Band, led by Kathy Mason, an early branch member, has performed in concerts at the Catskills Irish Arts Festival for set dances and at benefits. Band members include early Sean O'Rita branch members Kathy Clark on baron, Ed Rogers on the fiddle, and Steve Schreiber, who plays the flute and whistle. Kathy Clark competed in the adult solo baron competition at the 1986 Lishdal All-Ireland Fleadh Cheoil. Young Albany area Irish step dancing students performed at concerts to the accompaniment of the Albany Comhaltas Band. Local step dancers Jennifer Boland and Rosemary Campbell have since established their own step dancing schools. While Declan Crowley, a successful competitive step dancer, has toured in some of Michael Flatley's shows. Declan would add Kaylee drumming to his repertoire after taking lessons from Jimmy Kelly. Kelly also taught Kaylee drumming to John Lydon, who was the sole North American representative in the adult solo Kaylee drum competition in 2010.
The purpose of the organization is to promote Irish set dancing in Albany, New York, and the Capital District, and also traditional Irish music.
And go. 1, 2, 3, and 2.
We've been going for 20 years. We run a series of 7 dances through the winter months. We teach every Tuesday night year-round.
We're hoping that we can keep the group replenished with younger people, and sometimes people move from other cities and join. So really our goal is to have the group continue. For that monthly dance, we have live music by the Albany Comhaltas Performing Band. We're very lucky to have that.
The Tom Finucane branch in Rochester is true to its origins, playing tunes, songs, sharing new ones, and having a bit of conversation. Their programs and activities include leading weekly and monthly sessions, several that have run for decades, organizing weekly set dance classes and regular ceilidh dances, teaching monthly mixed instrument classes for learning tunes by ear, hosting concerts that feature local, regional, and international musicians, performing and teaching at community events and festivals, including Celtic Fair and Genesee Country Annual Ceilidh in the Park. Ted McGraw plays at Springwater Festival. Activities also include Village Irish Music Workshop days at Nazareth and St. John Fisher College, the monthly Button Box Club, organizing an annual teaching event to provide a day of free instruction on all instruments, dance, language to the community, lending instruments to learners through a shared library, gathering for a monthly collaboration with the Martin Wynne branch, meeting halfway between our branches in Rochester and Buffalo, and also sharing Ted McGraw's historic Irish Party House radio show. Irish traditional culture has long been a presence in the Buffalo area. Prior to the establishment of the Martin Wynne Comhaltas branch, Margaret McGrath taught Irish language classes at the Buffalo Irish Center. She continues to this day. In fact, she has inspired one of her students, Kevin Conroy, to teach also. Margaret is a member of the Martin Wynne branch, a Northeast Region Hall of Fame member, and Irish language officer for the North American province. Buffalo has had an interest in ceilidh dancing for many years, with never a lack of teachers. Always on Tuesday nights at the Irish Center, it was taught by Jim Brennan and Ellen Scahill in a closed class, who mostly performed and competed. Shane Devlin later came and taught both ceilidh and set dance for 17 years. This was now open to anyone with an interest in Irish dance. He was replaced by Tim Strawby and Ellen Scahill. Many instructors ensure that the ceilidh will stay with us for a long time. Also teaching set dancing were Brendan Brown, along with his father Joe Brown. And they taught at the University of Buffalo and also at Ulrich's Tavern. It was taught in Niagara County by Tim Strawby also, and in Colden, New York. Dancers continue to perform at many venues throughout Western New York. The Irish Center has its own session where anyone is welcome. It was held immediately following the Martin Wynne meeting. Never quite a Comhaltas session, many members of the branch attended. Tim Strawby, branch member, ran a learning session for many years. Buffalo's pubs have provided a place for the sessions for Irish musicians. Some of the venues include the Sterling Tavern, Flying Bison Brewery, and Nietzsche's, as well as the Buffalo Irish Center.